Camilla and Thomas left the conference room together. They left CERN together. They flew out of Switzerland on Camilla's plane together. They couldn't leave each other's side. He needed her, she needed him. The pain of their experience bonded them, and when they touched down in the United States, the two had become one. They exited Camilla's plane hand in hand and into the waiting SUVs. They cuddled with each other as they drove down the streets of Thomas's city. They didn't say anything to each other. They just held on tight as Agent Jones pulled up to Thomas's house. Thomas and Camilla exited the car and walked up the sidewalk when the front door of his house burst open in a flash. "Little man!" his dad screamed. He ran down and embraced Thomas with all his might. He pulled away and brought Camilla in as well. "I'm so happy you are okay, that both of you are okay. Please, come inside." Mr. Moore escorted the two into the home. Agent Jones and Agent Silva followed with all the bags. Thomas walked Camilla into the kitchen where he always sat and talked with his parents. "This is my home," he said to her. "This place is wonderful," as she slowly walked around the first floor. "You have a very lovely home, Mr. Moore," she said. "Thank you. And you can stay here as long as you need. Have you been able to get a hold of your parents?" he asked. "Yes," she lied as she peeked over at Thomas. "They are stuck in Europe somewhere and can't get out." "Well, tell them you can stay here as long as you need. We don't know how things will be or for how long," said Mr. Moore. "We are safe here. The impact didn't do much where we live, but the domino effect of the Pacific Rim with the rest of the world will be mighty. We have food, we have water, we have all the things we need." Agent Jones and Agent Silva said their goodbyes and left. "Here, let me take your things. Thomas, you can have your room. Camilla, you can have our guest room." The three walked upstairs. Thomas grabbed his things and went left down the hallway, while Mr. Moore carried Camilla's things to the extra bedroom on the right. Camilla and Thomas both looked back at each other with a smile as they entered their rooms. After a few minutes, Mr. Moore came back to check on Thomas. "How are you, little man?" "To be honest, I'm lost, Dad. I don't know what to do," he said. "Nobody knows what to do," his dad replied. "Mankind has never gone through anything like this. We will just wait things out, safe at home." "How is Mom?" Thomas asked as he sat down on his old bed. "She's doing better. The doctor said at any time she should be awake," replied Mr. Moore. "They were saying that before I left," jumped in Thomas, a little angry. "Comas are difficult, Thomas. The only thing they can monitor are brain waves and how the body is functioning. They use the data that they have to make the best decision they can make. Do you understand?" said Mr. Moore as he sat down next to him. Thomas just sat there staring at the ground in his room. "Can I go see her?" he asked. "Absolutely. Let's go get Camilla and I'll take you there," said Mr. Moore. The three left in Mr. Moore's car and drove to the hospital where his mom was being treated. Mr. Moore led the two up the elevator, down the hall, and into her room. It had been a long time since Thomas had seen her. He walked over to the side of the bed and sat down next to her. "I'm going to leave you two here. I'll just be outside," said Camilla. Thomas looked over at his mom and grabbed her hand. "Hi, Mom. I'm home," he said. "Well, we did it. Kind of. We were able to save the Earth, but we missed a meteor that hit. We don't know what that all means yet, but I'm safe and home." All of a sudden, the monitors that were monitoring his mom's vitals started to ring loudly. "Dad, what's going on?" asked Thomas as he stood up from the bed. Just then, nurses came rushing into the room. Thomas looked back to see Camilla with her hands over her mouth. His dad escorted him out of the room and into the hallway. "What's going on?" asked Thomas nervously. "This has happened before, little man. The doctors and the nurses will take care of everything." They waited eagerly in the hall when the door opened back up. "You can come in," said the head nurse after a few tense minutes. They walked back into the room to see his mom leaning up in bed with her eyes open. "Mom!" Thomas yelled as he ran over to her bed. "All she needed was to hear his voice," said Mr. Moore.